All righty, welcome back for another episode of Two Plane Sports. Sorry we did not post on our normal Monday, but this is why you guys turn on that notification bell. We had quite a weekend, as you can tell. Brandon had a little bit of a battle scar on Jose's wedding. It was just an accident. He's all good, but he's wearing his pride. Wearing the battle scars from this weekend. So it was a pretty good time. Jose's on his honeymoon. He did not run for the hills, believe it or not. He did go through with it. He is now a married man.
Shout out Jose. Congratulations, bud.
Yeah, maybe you're watching this. I'm assuming you won't be watching it, but we got kind of a hodgepodge show of various topics, various things to talk about. We're going to be talking a little bit about recruiting. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of the upcoming schedules as far as the recruiting goes, like the recruiting dead period, some potential targets. We're going to talk a little NIL with a particular player committing to a particular school who had kind of shot up a red flag in our mind, and just the craziness that's going on. And we're going to talk a little OU baseball. I mean, the baseball team is rolling. It's just going to be towards the end. Nothing too in depth, but those Sooners are playing extremely well. But before we get into it, we just want to say we really appreciate it. We're growing. We're over that 4,300 mark. Help us get to that 4,400 subscriber mark. If you're here, you might as well hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell, because you might have missed this video and you might be watching this a little later than normal because we decided to post on Tuesday. But most of the time will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So hit that notification bell, like the video, comment, let us know what you think on these various topics, and find us on our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, and Spotify. And be sure, if you're listening right now on Apple or Spotify, leave us a review. You can be an honest review. We prefer 5 stars, but we understand if all of our takes aren't 5-star material. So if you haven't done all that, help us out. It's free. I think Brandon and I are going to be doing a live stream here pretty soon. I think by the next video that we'll post, which we'll post another video tomorrow on our regular schedule Wednesday. We'll have a date for you guys for a live stream, and we'll start promoting that so we can all hang out and talk a little OU football recruiting and various other athletic sports. So all right, let's get into it. So this weekend, Tyler Turner. For anyone that doesn't know who Tyler Turner is, we've talked about him. He's a 2023 3-star, or now he's a 4-star safety out of San Antonio, Texas. He's 6 foot, 180 pounds, number 337 overall, and the number 33 safety in the class. OU and Oregon were recently put in his top 2 schools, and he's taken an official visit to Oklahoma, and he ended up taking an official visit to Oregon this past weekend. Well, it seemed like the visit was knocked out of the park. A crystal ball came in for Oregon from Steve Wiltfong. It seems like it's heavily trending towards Oregon right now. That's a target that OU's most likely going to lose out on, just because he commits to Oregon, which I assume will be happening somewhat soon. Doesn't mean that OU won't stop recruiting him. Brandon, what do you think? I mean, it's not looking great. When Steve Wiltfong comes in, he's generally right.
Well, it's unfortunate because they got the last visit. You always want to be last, especially when it comes down to 2 schools. You mentioned the connection he has with when he originally committed to Baylor. He committed because of the cornerback coach at Baylor, who is now at Oregon. And Dan Lanning's also he's been doing a great job with defensive recruiting since he got there. I'm still holding out hope that Tyler Turner does commit to Oklahoma, because on one of the shows you missed, Jose and I talked about it, and we both were real excited about the idea of him being a Sooner, because like the numbers he put up on the field, his production are pretty damn good. Last year he had like 133 tackles, 3 picks, 4 forced fumbles. He's got great size at 6 feet, 180 for a safety. He kind of play all over the field. I think he would be a lot of fun in a Brent Venables coach defense and just kind of flying around the field making plays for us. Maybe it's just that post-visit high that we talk about all the time. He's fresh off of it, kind of had a reuniting experience with that corner coach that he committed to for Baylor. So a lot of things worked out for Oregon's recruitment of him this weekend, but hopefully it's just a post-recruitment high. Come back down, think about it, the decision that is ultimately Oregon and Oklahoma, and maybe Oklahoma can still win out, because I think he's going to be a hell of a player.
Yeah, and I had to double check because I couldn't remember the guy's name, but it's Matt Powledge. He was only at Baylor from 2020 to 2021, but obviously that defense was great with, at Baylor last year. They tore it up. But, it's tough when you build that relationship. And I feel like we talk about it all the time. Recruiting is not just 1 year. A lot of times these kids are being identified as freshmen, eighth graders sometimes, and you start that relationship and, for one reason or another, a coach either moves on or gets let go, and they take that relationship with them. Just because you're at one school doesn't mean, you can't take that relationship with you to the next school. And he's using that to his benefit, just like that Venables and his staff have done as well with Todd Bates and those established relationships from Clemson. So hopefully you're right. I hope he can come back to his senses and think about it a little more. Maybe he wants to be closer to home. I'm sure that Oregon NIL deal with Nike and everything else isn't hurting the whole thing. Dan Lanning is recruiting, and his staff are recruiting at an extremely high level right now. So they just are rolling got the ball rolling. Someone that could be a potential, not necessarily a replacement target, but a little bit of on a brighter note, someone that I feel like OU's in a pretty good spot with, and we've talked about him a little bit ago, but I mean, it's been a while, is Peyton Bowen. He's from Geyer High School, which that might sound familiar to you guys, with Jackson Arnold, with where he plays. He's really good friends with Jackson Arnold. He's 6 foot, 185-pound safety out of Denton, Texas, 2023 4-star, number 51 overall, number 4 safety in the class. He's currently committed to Notre Dame. He committed to them on the first of the year, and OU's been recruiting him pretty hard. He committed early, and part of the reason why OU is behind in this recruitment is courtesy of the previous staff. The previous staff kind of put him off a little bit, brushed him off, kind of didn't recruit him very much, which that sounds very familiar, like with By Joby. I think that's how you say his name, but, local Norman product. OU's not leading there because of the last staff, and you're playing catch up. And so going back to Bowen took an official visit to Notre Dame not too long ago. Or maybe it was an unofficial, I can't remember, but that visit went really well. I think OU is going to try to get him on campus for, he's been on a campus for some unofficials, but I think OU is going to be trying to get him on campus for some official visits, or one official visit. If they can do that, if they can get an official visit scheduled, I feel like OU is going to be in a pretty good spot, because I think Notre Dame and Freeman's MO is you can unofficially visit places and talk with other coaches, but you can't take an official visit while you're committed. So what do you think?
He would be a good consolation prize if we can pull him from Notre Dame, and if we lose out on Tyler Turner. I'm not sure I'm far enough to say he's better than Tyler Turner as an overall player. They have different skill set. I think Tyler Turner is a more all around, all over the field, better tackler. Just the numbers indicate that and stuff. But with Bowen, he put up pretty good numbers, and you can tell he's a ball hawk. He had 12 pass breakups from that safety spot, and 6 picks. So he's obviously rangy when it comes to balls in the air. He goes and gets it. And he also had 60 tackles, so it's not to say that he's incapable of tackling or just not. I feel like he's more of a true safety in every sense of the position, whereas Tyler Turner kind of ranges into linebacker spot too, where he's making tackles more than Peyton Bowen might be. But the familiarity with Jackson Arnold, as you mentioned, if we are able to get an official visit, can hurt us. I mean, it's pretty fun to be teammates in high school and at the college level. It's I think Brandon Hall is doing a pretty good job of recruiting these defensive backs. So is Jay Valai. We've seen it. I'm kind of with you. If we can get an official from Peyton Bowen, I'll start feeling pretty darn good. And he would be a good consolation prize if Tyler Turner does ultimately commit to Oregon.
Yeah, and I just feel like you're close. You're in Denton, Texas, which I assume most people watching this are familiar with. Denton and Norman. It's not far, just south. You go down I-35, it's just right down the road. Being that close, the 5-star quarterback, Jackson Arnold, is your teammate. You can go up there and go play together, and he's got a little brother in Eli Bowen, who's becoming a great 2024 prospect in the defensive back area. That's another target that OU is recruiting hard. It it would be great to get the Bowens as a package deal. I feel like in a way that it might be that way. But if Peyton ultimately ends up at Notre Dame, I still feel good about Eli Bowen. But I think ultimately, I think Peyton Bowen will flip. I will say, I will preface this, it's always harder to flip a kid than it is just to get an initial commitment. So while Notre Dame has that commitment, they do have the upper hand. It's not 100% sure, but the fact that he's talking, he's been on unofficial visits. I think he's been on a few unofficial visits. He comes up again for another unofficial, maybe this fall, and maybe an official this fall. Jackson Arnold starts tearing it up.
Clearly not in love with Notre Dame if he's visiting this much, as we talk about in the show a lot too, because you don't take this many visits if you're happily in love at Notre Dame, or he's at least weighing the options still. He's not locked in.
Yeah, Jose is not going on dates with women right now. He just got married. He's done. He's off the market. So
yeah, I mean, exactly. It's the same game.
Yeah. So we'll see. We're going to keep an eye on it. Bowen will be a great ad and from another great high school in Dallas, or in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we'll see, and we'll just keep an eye on it. But it looks like Tyler Turner's gone, but like you said, not a bad secondary guy to be getting in Bowen. And there's some other safety prospects like Makari Vickers. He's a terrific safety prospect. If the class ended up with Vickers and Bowen, that would be a pretty mean duo. So that's like best case scenario.
Good haul.
Best case scenario right there. So I will move on to the next guy we're going to be talking about. It's going to be really quick, though, is Dalen Smothers. We've been talking about him as of recently quite a bit. 2023 four-star running back, number 218 overall, number 9 running back in the class. He's 5'11", 182 pounds, out of Charlotte, North Carolina. He came up to Oklahoma for an official visit on June 3rd, shortly after his offer on March 20th. So March 20th to June 3rd for an official. This past weekend, he took an official visit to NC State, which is the hometown team. And he's got another official visit to Florida State coming up this weekend. And it seems to be a 3-team race right now with Smothers, for Florida State, NC State, and Oklahoma. I feel pretty good about Smothers. His visit, from what I've read and gathered, it seemed like it went really well. NC State's they're the hometown team. I feel like they're only really in it while they're a good program. I think it's mainly because of the proximity and they're in his backyard. I just don't feel like that. While the visit was good, I just think he knows that he might want to go play at a little bit of a bigger school. And I feel good about Smothers. And I feel like after his official visit to Florida State, I could see him committing sometime in July. I feel like now, especially with Caleb Hicks, we've been talking about it. Once one running back hopped on board, there's only one more spot in theory. From what I kind of gather in the numbers, there's only one more spot. Well, it's going to be a race.
I think it's kind of important for Oklahoma to lock down Dalen Smothers, because I do agree with you where we sit in a good spot with him. And we do want the 2 running backs in the 23 class. But if you look at the 4 that we were in on, or, deep with, Caleb Hicks, obviously, is committed. Great get for DeMarco Murray and company. I think he's going to be a pretty special player. But then you want that second one. Richard Young, we've talked about him multiple times. It looks far-fetched. It looks like a reach, although that would be a fantastic get for DeMarco Murray if he's able to pull that one off. Dylan Edwards is a guy that we've had a roller coaster ride with. We felt really, really good about. Now it looks like he's going to be a Kansas State Wildcat. It kind of is what it is. So that last spot, as you mentioned, that second running back spot, if it's not Dalen Smothers, we're going to, it's going to be somebody that we don't really know yet, or we haven't really identified yet.
You know who it could be, and it's just off the top of my head, is Sergio Snyder Jr. Sergio Snyder, he's out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He put OU, I believe, in his top 5. I think he released a top 5 not too long ago. I feel like they're not pushing Snyder very hard because they think OU. He's not
the pro. Like it's no offense to Sergio Snyder, but it seems as if Dalen Smothers is of higher priority and a guy that they'd rather lock down over Snyder. So I think we are in a good spot for Smothers, as you mentioned, but I think it's time to really make sure it happens, because if he doesn't commit, then you're kind of going to your backup, which you never really want to go to your backup. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, and part of you're talking about all these running backs that OU's in a good spot for. Another kid that I thought OU was going to have a, locked down was Trey Wisner, who came out of nowhere, went on an official visit to Texas and committed for their around, I think it was in April. And that came out of nowhere. And then you saw an offer came out for like a Sergio Snyder. And I think after that, Caleb Hicks got his offer. I believe, but I could be wrong. I'm just trying to remember. But yeah, I think Smothers, he'll take his official to Florida State this weekend. I feel like he could be a Sooner here relatively soon. And that leads us into a transition into the next topic. And I kind of want to just talk about, because a lot of people might not know, it's the recruiting dead period. It's actually coming up. It starts a week from today, I believe. It's June 27th through July 24th. It's a dead period of no unofficial, no official visits, no in person going to visit these kids, nothing in person. There is no home visits, nothing. It is like the dead period before the football season, the fall season, summer or fall camp really starts, and for these schools. So this is like the one time that coaches can kind of unplug. Now they still can call, they can text, they can FaceTime, they can do everything electronically that they do now. They just can't see the kids. And I think that's good, because the coaches and the staff can kind of get somewhat of a break. I mean, you're still talking to these kids almost every day, but I just kind of wanted to talk about, and maybe this is kind of a teaser for a show coming up. I think we're going to do a prediction. I think over the next month or so, and then it goes my dog barking. Over the next month or so, we're going to be talking about, we're going to give a prediction of who we think will be a part of this class by the end of the recruiting dead period. I think it could be a half dozen kids or so, give or take, plus one, either way, plus or minus one. I think the dead period is important, but I think it's going to be a great one. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. The Two Plane Sports Crystal Ball series. I guess we can name it, and it'll be fun. Yeah, but you mentioned before we start recording just now a little bit. Yeah, like 5 or 6 names that we could see in this next month of guys that we're in a good spot with. You think of both Caden Green, Peyton Kirkland on the offensive line spot, who we talk about on this show all the time. Really, really excited about the position and the likelihood of them being Sooners. We're good there. Makari Vickers is a guy you mentioned earlier on this show. Is another guy that could be fit in that mold. One of those running backs. This next month I think is going to be big for us.
In an ideal scenario, it could be more than 5. I think we're going to go through. Jose will be gone, but we're going to, like you said, it's the Two Plane Sports Crystal Ball series. We're going to come out. We're going to give our predictions. We're going to talk in depth about each kid, give our reasons why they're going to be committed by the end of the recruiting dead period. And, if it ends up happening that way, you could end up with 13, 14, 15 recruits going into August. And right there, and here we are. I mean, that's going to put OU about top 10 with that many commits. And we're going
which is going to be super nice, because people have started almost hitting the panic button on just the I guess the lack thereof recruitments, if you will. But it's a trust the process type system. I think they are coming. If we build it, they will come, and we are building it.
Yeah, we've noticed not only on, message boards and things like that, but we've been seeing in some of our comments of people being concerned, and rightfully so. It's a little different. But we're going to rest assured, we're going to make you feel more comfortable with a video coming out. I don't know, it might be into this week or beginning of next week. We might actually do it for beginning of next week as a kickoff to the recruiting dead period on the 27th. So that would be a good way to segue into that time.
Hell yeah, that's the way to do it. The Two Plane Sports Crystal Ball series starts next week.
So be excited. We'll do that, and we'll get you guys some comfort there. So we'll talk about that. So just kind of some odds and ends here that we kind of want to talk about. That's been a little interesting is NIL. So, this is something we've been talking about. Gosh, it's been, I feel like every so often it comes up and we start talking about it. NIL has a lot of good features to it. And I think the intention of it is really good. Do I think it's been blown out of proportion and a little out of line? Yeah. But do I blame the kids necessarily for going to get that kind of money? I don't, because at the end of the day, if I were in their spot at 16, 17, 18 years old, and I had half million, $1.5 million sitting in front of me, I'm going to play football there. I mean, I might never see the NFL, but I got $1 million. I mean, but there's some downsides to that. I mean, schools and boosters and organizations seem to be taking a little advantage of it. We talk about Texas A&M, their NIL deal, and Jimbo Fisher, as much as he wants to ignore it and not say it's a factor. It's a factor. Another school, Louisville. My gosh, Louisville is rolling. Ruben Owens, the number one safe or number one running back, number two running back, depending on where you look. He's a 5-star. And then you look at DeAndre Moore Jr., who was once committed to Oklahoma with the previous staff. I mean, that's just two guys. And then you look at Aaron Williams from St. John Bosco, Pierre Clarkson, another quarterback from St. John Bosco, which is both in Bellflower, California. Man, I tell you what, Louisville, I don't know exactly what they're offering and what they're giving out, but they've exploded onto the scene. But I can't get over this.
No, it's, as you mentioned, I think the idea of NIL, and it's still something I do think that these college players should be being paid, because they bring in a shit ton of money at the end of the day for all of their respective universities. And I do think it's a little bit corrupt and unfair for the NCAA to sit here and make billions of dollars off these kids and they see nothing of it. But Texas A&M is the prime example of just abusing this system to land just 5-star after 5-star. And they never do that. So Jimbo is straight up lying when he says NIL doesn't factor in. Louisville, they're out. I mean, the last 10 or 12 years, like the only big players I can think of that I can think of coming out of Louisville as first round picks or high up, or you got Teddy Bridgewater and you got Devontae Parker. They were both first round picks. I don't know
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson, yeah, okay, Lamar Jackson. So 3. But they don't. I mean, it's not like a 5-star hub, if you will. And then now they you mentioned DeAndre Moore and Ruben Owens. That those are just recently, but there's 3 or 4 other guys you said that they're talking to or in high runnings with, and like Louisville has never been a destination school for most of these highly touted kids. So there's something in the NIL water there too, but. As you mentioned, it's good for the kids. They're not cheating. They're not breaking any rules. They're making advantage of their talent where they're getting paid. And but something has to change, I think, to level this field a little bit. I don't know. A&M's the one that really bugs me, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about Ruben Owens because, like we said, I mean, this recruitment started way long ago. And we talked about, could Ruben Owens be a target for Oklahoma? Well, Brent Venables is running a program that, while NIL is a component of playing football at Oklahoma, we don't want the kids that are only about the money and only about the extracurriculars. And I got the feel that Ruben Owens was that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different, trying to get his money and trying to do that. And, he takes an official visit. His first, his only official visit. And I don't know how many times he's been out to Louisville. I don't know if he's been out there multiple times or not, but he visited this weekend and committed today as we're recording this.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Barry Switzer was going to have us more in the game with his NIL package, with his, whatever, it's like $50,000 a year, whatever that football players can start making. We haven't really yet seen the benefits of that since the program has been announced. I think since that's been a thing, we've got Hicks, Caden McIntyre, Keon Brown. But but again, they are coming.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, some of the reported numbers makes you question, is 50 grand just a drop in the bucket for some of these kids? I mean, it's like nothing. Well, it's a lot.
I think it's a drop in the bucket compared to what A&M is offering. I don't even know what's in there. I think they just have unlimited funds up there in Aggie land.
Yeah, well, oil prices are up, so a lot of their oil alumni are doing really well. Of course, Oklahoma has a lot of people in the oil and gas industry that are doing really well, but the NCAA has come out and said that they're going to make examples of programs, examples of NIL and things like that. Like, coming to my mind is that Miami, that transfer to or the kid at Miami with that transfer coming in, and the boosters coming out and saying that he was getting, 400 grand or whatever it was. And now the NCAA is investigating that booster because you're supposed to not be involved. I feel like there's more of that going on right now, and I'm just ready for the NCAA to just get it a little under control, put up some actual rules, and we can figure this out. But I don't see Ruben Owens sticking with his commitment all the way through. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like there's something enticing him to like lock that in.
The
And
Brum flip alert already is on the day he commits.
I just don't see it happening. I just don't. I don't know. It's Louisville at the end of the day. If it's basketball,
yes. I mean, yeah, no, it is Louisville at the end of the day. I mean,
and I might have to eat my words when it comes in December when he's secured $1 million or $2 million or whatever the number is. And he's like, well, I don't really care. I'm getting that much money. I'm going to go play football for him.
But I mean, yeah, the amount of exposure that you're going to see playing at a Louisville versus a major program like in Alabama and Oklahoma and Ohio State or Georgia, whatever, which I'm sure he held offers from all of those schools. It's going to be way smaller than what he's actually going to be, like the exposure he's going to get at Louisville. Like playing at a school like a Louisville or Jackson State, like Travis Hunter, who, the number one player in the country, they won't see as much TV time or, I don't know. I feel like it just hurts their draft stock as compared to going to a major program. But at the same time, if you're good enough, you're good enough no matter where you go, and you're going to get drafted.
That's true. I mean, they find the kids that are at D2 and D3 schools. So if you play at a smaller D1 program, they'll find you. But I agree. You're not going to. It's just support from the fans won't be as much. But if the boosters and the funds are there back in the program, I guess it's all the same at the end of the day. So that's kind of it. I guess there's one more thing. One good thing about NIL is NCAA football is coming back, and the EA Sports is coming back July 2023, and that was one of the bright spots of NIL, like things like that, like for the names and the likeness or whatever. Let's get that game back. We played that all the time.
Yeah, everybody, at least on this show, is pretty damn excited, and I imagine a lot of people who watch this show are going to be pretty excited. NCAA football games are the best. I can't wait to play that stuff again. I hope they have it to where because we were screwed out of it. Like in NCAA 17, that 2017 team would have been so fun with Baker and CeeDee Lamb and Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews and Mixon and P. Ryan and Joe Moore winning offensive line. Like that's gonna be fun. Or playing with Kyler Murray. Like hopefully they have all the teams that we missed out on since NCAA 14 on this new game, and I'm sure they'll have that somewhere. But who knows?
Yeah. So something to keep an eye on. So the last topic, and last but not least, but if you're watching this, you're probably just a fan of the show and fan of everything OU sports. So we wanted to get all the football talk out first, but we want to talk about some OU baseball here. Man, one win away from going to play in the College World Series. And as you're watching this, that'll be OU's playing Wednesday, and I don't know who's going to win tomorrow between Notre Dame and Texas A&M. I feel like it might be Texas A&M, but Cade Horton last night or Sunday was terrific. I mean, 11 strikeouts. He's peaking at the right time. Peyton Graham's playing well. Spikerman's playing well. I mean, everyone's playing well. It's unfortunate that Squires broke his hand sliding back to first. That's a big loss, but it's like a next man up mentality. I love their aggressive base running that they did Sunday. There were a few boneheaded plays, and we're not upset with that because OU ended up winning, but things like that. You win and lose by it, and that's just the way that Skip Johnson and his team has always played. This season, you just got to roll with it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What do you think?
Well, it's clearly working. They're 2-0, they're one win from the College World Series finals, which is so fun. I mean, no one would have pegged that at the beginning of the season, us included. But like I said a couple weeks ago, we're becoming a diamond sports school here at OU. We're dominating these sports. You mentioned Peyton Graham. And Spikerman, Cade Horton being lights out, but Tanner Treadaway has been insane all postseason. Jimmy Crooks has been raking. You got Pettis out there and left making some plays, diving over walls and shit. Or how about Robertson on the first pitch of the game yesterday or Sunday, flying over the Notre Dame dugout? It's just this. It just has a good feeling to it. It feels awfully like like the softball team right now. Like you put on OU baseball now, and you kind of just expect them to win. Against A&M, they put it on them early. I know the final ended up being 13-8 or whatever, but like we were up 8-0 or 9-0 or 9-1 or something. Then we had a grand slam. I mean, and then Notre Dame, you build another big lead where it's 5-0 or 6-0 before Notre Dame gets on the board. And, they started threatening a little bit late, but it was never really in doubt. The team is just, they are locked the hell in. I don't think Notre Dame or A&M is going to beat us twice. I have a really strong feeling that we'll be playing for a national championship, which is a lot of fun. And again, something that I don't think anybody really would have predicted going into the season.
Yeah, going into the season and let alone in the middle of the season. I mean, I remember the game where OU blew that huge lead to Oklahoma State late, and that I was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? But this team just is peaking at the right time. And hearing about in their rain delay, David versus Goliath. So they're just a bunch of Davids now, the underdog, and which they are the underdog. But what's funny is there's a lot of underdog teams, unseeded teams at the College World Series, which is pretty impressive. As we're recording this, Auburn ended up eliminating Stanford. So the number 2 seed gone. Ole Miss is putting it on Arkansas right now. So Arkansas will be going the elimination bracket if everything holds to play Auburn. I see OU playing Ole Miss. Ole Miss is rolling. They're another team that they've won like 39, 40 games. I think this might be their 40th game. Ole Miss is extremely hot, and they're unseeded as well. I feel like Ole Miss is kind of like Oklahoma right now, just how hot they are, and no one wants to play them. What do you think?
Collision train, man. Let's catch them in a 2 out of 3 winner take all type series. That sounds fun to me. I mean, again, I don't really think it matters. I think obviously we're biased, and then it's fun to watch. But I mean, I tune into OU baseball now and just kind of expect them to win. They have that softball feel right now, and it's exciting.
Yeah, and I think kind of to wrap it all together, how about the announcement of the baseball facility upgrades couldn't be coming at a better time? The $30 million to renovate the locker rooms. I mean, everything. I mean, it's $30 million to do all this work. The baseball program is about to put a bunch of kids in the MLB in this draft. There could be some first round draft picks in there with Jimmy Crooks and a few others, and even Peyton Graham or someone. And then you could win a national championship, or if not, you're right there. You're putting $30 million into facilities. You got NIL. I feel like I feel like OU baseball is really starting to turn the corner, and you're about to go in the SEC.
They should stick around, and that $30 million, as you mentioned, can't come at a better time, because we're going to start competing against the real big boys of college baseball. If you count Texas and Oklahoma, this year 6 of 8 are SEC teams. But yeah, you got Vanderbilt, who didn't make it, who usually, they're always right there. Tennessee didn't make it. They were, the favorite to win the thing. We're going to start competing against the big boys of college baseball. So we're going to need all the help we can get. And a nice $30 million new locker room, and everything is going to be nice. And yeah, just the overall success of the team this year, the amount of kids going to be going to the draft, it's all going to be beneficial. I think OU baseball could stick around for years to come.
Yeah, and it just is a testament to Joe Castiglione, and obviously Skip Johnson's doing a great job, but Castiglione is putting almost every one of OU's athletic programs in a position to compete at the highest level and win national championships. Literally every program.
He's the best AD in the world, man. I just want to see one from football. I just really want to see one from football.
I mean, even OU wrestling is starting to turn the corner a little bit. I mean, it's coming together. I mean, everything's going well, getting ready for the SEC move. But hopefully, we'll be putting a video out Wednesday, and we'll know who OU is going to be playing at that point. But we'll see what ends up happening. Do you have any final thoughts before we roll into your individual challenge for the people?
No, I'm ready for it. But So tonight I'm going to see the new Top Gun finally. I just rewatched the first one this week just so I can be all fresh. So this, I guess, is for those who have seen it. I'll go back through tomorrow and check the comments and stuff, and we'll interact with you guys. I know Brum's seen it. So it's another 2-parter, I guess. Is it better than the first one? Because I thought the first one was pretty darn good, and I just watched it again just to catch up. it's gonna be tough to beat, I think, in my opinion. I loved the first Top Gun. So A, is it better than the first one in your opinion? And B, favorite part of the movie, like favorite, I guess, scene or whatever. And again, you can't really answer that one yet, because I'm about to go see it, but I will go back through the comments and interact with the people who have seen it. So I guess those two, but you can answer if you think it's better than the first one.
Yeah, I will say overall, I think the second one was better than the first one, but barely. I mean, the first one was awesome too. I won't say my favorite part. Maybe we'll talk about that on the first show or the first part of Wednesday's show. But I think overall what they did was they just focused on they didn't do too much. That's what I guess. They just sometimes.
That's usually how the sequels get screwed up. If you have a really, really good movie, they try to do too much in the second one and it's just not as good. So I'm excited to hear that. But I haven't heard a single bad review from anybody yet. So I'm very much excited to check this movie out.
Yeah, when Rotten Tomatoes gives like a 98% or 97%, it's good, because almost never do they give a great review on a movie. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. It'll be interesting to talk about. Maybe on Wednesday's show we'll talk about it a little bit before and see what the people think in these comments for tomorrow. But if you made it this far, like the video, comment on the video, do the in-video challenge, and comment on anything else that you saw. Some of you guys comment throughout. That's great. Comment throughout or comment at the very end, either one. Be sure to subscribe. If you made it this far, I mean, over half an hour, listen to us just blab on. You might as well hit the notification bell. Find us on our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, and Spotify. If you're on Apple and Spotify, leave us a review. Just be honest. It helps us grow the channel on that side as well. And we will be back Wednesday for, maybe a little more baseball talk, a little more football recruiting, kind of a hodgepodge of things. And we'll have a date for our live announcement, or our second live, and just Brandon and I, and we'll start planning on that. We'll
also potentially soon with Mark Rogers again. If you guys enjoyed that one, there's something in the works there again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I didn't even say anything, but yeah, Mark Rogers is coming up as well, and we'll be sure to let that date be known. We'll post about it. We'll catch you guys Wednesday.